What is up, everybody? Possums, welcome to Offensive Points Royal Rumble Part 2. God, I get pumped up for this day. Guys, the 105th season of the NFL kicks off tomorrow, and we are just in draft season, so we're bringing you all the redraft content we can right now. We're excited. We like this time of the year. I mean, we play a lot of Dynasty. We talk Dynasty for, 8 months, basically, because we kind of kick in at the end of the season. This is redraft. This is where it all started. So we're getting back to our roots. We're helping you win a fantasy football championship. We got some big announcements going on at IDP Plus, so be on the lookout for that. Those should happen right after or right at the expo time, which is in
9
weeks,
days.
week and a half, 9 days. I am excited to get out, drink some beer with some legends of the industry. So look out for the updates coming out. It's going to be a fun time. It's a good time. It's a good time for everybody. Josh, Billy, how you feeling?
Just ready for fantasy football. When August hits, I feel like the clock's reset and like we're back into a season again. And it works out perfectly this year, where the first game is on August 1st. So, although we're hearing news that the Bears are not going to start their starters, which is disappointing, but at the same time understandable because the preseason is so weird and you never know what's going to happen. So, just ready for some football again.
Well, we've been on that.
We've
been on that field. There's plenty of injuries that can happen on that field. We've witnessed one firsthand. Everyone out there, this is the last week, or today is the last day without a week of football till February. Think about that.
Amazing.
This is like New Year's, man. I get so excited like this time of year.
This is a real holiday, though. New Year's is like, who really cares?
Yeah, when I was younger, I really liked New Year's. And I was just like, hell yeah, bring on the new year, new me. And now I'm just like, I'm off work. This is cool. But August 1st, football season.
I'm already thinking about going and betting the Bears money line tomorrow. Just to get the betting juices flowing too for football. I just,
I like
something. My guy right there.
Throw some money down for me. We got
Tyson Bagent. I mean, come on, man. Like we could do this. I like this a lot.
Tyson Bagent, Davis Mills. That's going to be fantastic.
I also want to shout out the House of the Dragon people at HBO Max, because the season finale is this week. They perfectly knew that nobody's going to give a shit once football starts back up. So they were like, you know what? We're going to get this over with at the end of this week, and then you're into football season. You don't have to worry about House of the Dragon. I've been really locked in.
It's also been a nice distraction for the last 2 months, as well. So very helpful.
Yeah. I've been trying Olympics, but it's just, I don't know, man.
I'm going to be honest with you. And I hope this doesn't make me un-American, but
here we go.
I just don't care about the Olympics, honestly. Summer at least. Winter Olympics are great. You got curling on every screen of every bar that you ever attend, and that's always just great. You get, even figure skating is more exciting than some of this stuff. I mean, I don't want to watch a guy swim. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm bad. It's not Michael Phelps. We know, Michael Phelps is cool because you're like, hey, this dude's gonna win. Just watch. Now I'm just kind of and I guess I'm a bad person for it.
Winter Olympics is definitely better, but I've been enjoying the multi-view that YouTube TV has, and I've been watching some very interesting sports. Ping pong. My God, when they go to serve that ball, they look at it like they're having a religious experience before they serve the ball, and it's crazy. And then I was watching judo. The men's judo is boring, man. I don't understand that, but the women's judo, they literally are trying to kill each other on the mat.
They got after it.
I did watch the women's rugby games, and those were intense, to say the least. But there's been some cool stuff. I mean, I really wish I would have seen the shooting. That looked pretty fun. I've seen some great memes that come out.
You see the turkey guy that just walked out? The guy from Turkey? Just hand in his pocket, blasting shit. Silver medal.
No earplugs, no glasses. He's just like, fuck it, let's do this.
Those glasses look wild too. I don't know what's going on with them.
Well, and I also appreciate the Olympics coverage has given us the gold zone instead of the red zone. Today's the first day I've gotten to watch it, but they have the gold zone instead of red zone. And they just pop around to each different sport as it's going on. It's Andrew Siciliano and what's his name from the red zone, the other guy. And they're just going through and talking every sport. I kind of like, that's my thing there, because I'm just, I don't want to be locked in for sure on something, but if you're going to tell me, if you want to tell me gymnastics is happening here, ping pong's happening there, rugby's happening, soccer, I don't care. Just throw me in. I want some action.
I agree. And Yeah, so there's a red zone for the NBA that they're coming out with this year, which I'm excited about.
See, now that would be fun. I do like the idea of a red zone for basketball because basketball would be. Ugh.
I love watching the NBA, but it's almost gotten out of hand with my schedule. When I was younger, I could follow it, but we don't get the in-market games in St. Louis, so much more difficult.
Yeah, it's kind of lame. All right, let's get to it. Don't really have any news. There's a bunch of camp news. There's just a bunch of random stuff that's been happening. I'm not going to call any of this actually actionable news. There's just no reason for it. I've seen a ton of other Twitter users that are analysts, quote unquote, have been trying to parse through different things. And I'm like, we fell for this once upon a time. Everybody's been there, but after a while, you just start to realize that none of this actually matters. And the fact that Kadarius Toney's taking running back snaps doesn't actually matter at all. Like, who's here for that? Not us. So we're just going to skip over the news. We'll get back after some games. Maybe that'll produce some actually things that we can talk about. So without further being said, let's get to the Royal Rankings Rumble Part 2. So the first part we did was in May. Right after the draft, we put out our rankings, just preliminary, just to get it out there and start arguing. This is our more like, this is what we're going into the season with. Now, injuries will change this, of course, but for the most part, this is what we're going into. This is what we're looking forward to drafting off of. So, Josh, can you kick it off for us?
Yeah, so let's just talk about the first round. So start from the top. Christian McCaffrey, number 1 overall. CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bijan Robinson at 5. All of us actually agreed on this one, which was just amazing. Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson to round out the first round of a 12-man league. Any thoughts overall? Like, something just stick out to you here with the three of us?
Okay, I thought Joe was going to go. My bad. Not really. Other than Joe, I got to know what is it with Breece Hall. So me and Josh have them at 2 and 3 respectively, and then you have them at 6, or no, 3 and 4 respectively, and you have them at 6. Joe, I'm not going to say why you hate. I always do that, but I'm not going to do this. Why? What is keeping you a little lower on him than us out of the top 5?
I mean, I have him at 6. I think Breece Hall is a fantastic pick. When I'm picking in this range, especially starting the drafts, I want more for sure things, I would say. So I like going with wide receivers. If I can't get McCaffrey, which I have thoughts on McCaffrey too, but if I can't get him, I'd rather start off with Lamb, Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, that sort of thing. That's just where I'm at with this. I've tried to get Breece Hall higher. I'm very high on Breece Hall. I keep trying to go back to my rankings and raise him up, but that seems to be where he's falling for me. So
see, I
don't really have a huge argument.
I couldn't disagree more. I think that there's a line somewhere. I don't know where that line is, and I'm not saying Breece Hall.
It's not the New York Jets line. I'll tell you that.
And well, so the thing is the man did it last year with essentially the same line. Maybe lost Mekhi Becton to the Eagles. Once again, I got to add him in there, but got to be running back number 2 last year with literally nothing. So this offense has to be better this year, and I think the sky's the limit for Breece, and I think it only gets better from here. The yards per carry will go up, probably look back more like what his rookie year looked like. We got to see the flash his rookie year, and then honestly, I wasn't sold on him last year. I was like, I want him to be good, but I don't know. So I think he was probably like in the 2nd round, maybe even 3rd last year, and then this year he is a first-round draft pick. I can say that, and I think we all agree at least on that. But I think it's a little higher than people think. These wide receivers are all kind of going into it a little weird at this point. CeeDee Lamb doesn't have a contract that's holding him out, probably won't affect him. Amon-Ra is probably the most healthiest and best situation at this point of the top 5. Tyreek Hill, he's up there, but I actually have him at 2, so that's another conversation. But then Chase coming in with Burrow, we don't know what his hands looking like. Jefferson coming in with a no-name quarterback. To me, like, all of those just get bumped down for a guy who I know is the sure thing and can do it with or without a starting quarterback, I guess, in my eyes.
I think what this really boils down to, because I don't really have much of an argument of having it at 6, is I think Bijan has a good case to finish as RB1. So I think Bijan's in for a massive year. I know we just saw the blurb that Tyler Algier is going to be heavily involved, but I don't know. I'm just all in on Bijan. I think he's going to have a colossal year. So that's my argument more than anything else.
Well,
I mean,
with
That's pretty solid.
With
At that point-
Bijan, Josh, I'll let you talk, Josh. I'll
Right.
wait until.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Get me back in about pick.
We'll get you
12
in.
or
Any-
13.
I was just going to point out the fact that we all have Brees Hall. Well, actually, Billy's a little off, but I have him at Brees Hall at 4, Bijan at 5. You have Bijan at 5, Brees Hall at 6. We're not off by much. We're splitting hairs here. And we know you don't like running backs, so not as much. But I feel like these three are the elite. Like that's the elite, and then you draw a line, and then it's the next tier. So like if you get any of these three guys or any of the wide receivers that we've mentioned, you're starting off on a good foot. I mean, the thing is, the first round, like it used to be like, if you don't nail the first round, you're dead. I don't think you're off on any of these picks. It's just it comes down to preference at this point. Anyway, go ahead.
No, okay. Thanks, Josh. So I was just gonna say, with Bijan and technically with Brees Hall too, they both have pretty much new quarterbacks going in, so we don't actually know how they're even going to be utilized. We just know what we hope. Like with Bijan, you say he has a chance to be the RB1 overall, but that would mean that Kirk Cousins isn't throwing the ball as much. I mean, it would be tough to say that Kirk Cousins would be Kirk Cousins and then also have the running back 1 in fantasy. Just seems a little unlikely to me personally.
Kirk Cousins was in Kevin O'Connell's scheme. Not to cut you off there, but that's where all that passing happened from.
Well, fair enough, but that's been Kirk Cousins. I mean, was he all of a sudden just going to be a handoff king? Like, I don't think so.
Dalvin
They
Cook
brought him there to
did
throw the
pretty
ball.
good in fantasy.
Yeah, but he was never RB1.
I don't know. I think the Falcons, if Kirk Cousins is healthy, have a much more complete team than the Jets.
I mean, that's probably true. I don't know. I do think that it's just going to matter of what scheme is going to be more handoff friendly than pass friendly, which I don't know which one, because both of them are very good throwing quarterbacks. So like, what would you do there?
Did you just say that the Falcons have a more complete team than the Jets?
Yeah, the Jets with 3 players.
Offensive wise, maybe, but
yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there when we get to
offensive wise
shortly.
Okay, before we get too far away, I do want to mention Jamar Chase, who we all have at 6. Josh has him at 6. I have him at 7. Joe has him at 3. The fact that Joe Burrow has not thrown yet at practice. I know that we just skipped over all of camp news, but Joe, would that worry you at all? Like, would you move him down from 3 if in 2 weeks from now we're still talking about how Joe Burrow hasn't thrown at camp yet?
Yes, if he still has not thrown, I would consider moving him down. But assuming Joe Burrow is 90% of what he was, I think Jamar Chase is in for a colossal year as well.
I just saw what happened with T. Higgins last year, and just like the complete, just like for being forgot about, and then Burrow going down, and then just Chase just not looking the same without Burrow. I feel like that team is, I don't want to say in shambles because it's not correct words, but it's teetering the fence line of like, maybe this isn't it. Like, and I'd hate to say that because I think Joe Burrow is amazing and Jamar Chase is obviously amazing. We know this. It's just there's too many question marks for me. And I mean, once again, still in my top 7. So it's hard for me to be like, don't draft Jamar Chase because like you kind of have to.
Yeah, I just like how the Bengals came out and basically told T. Higgins to go fuck himself. Jamar Chase is our wide receiver 1. That was a really good stance for me, and that's probably why I'm so high on Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
No, it's legitimate. Like poor T. Higgins. He's just, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, our friend, and until he moves on to a different team.
So he's on the Patriots next year.
Yeah, exactly. Or Buffalo, something like that. But yeah, no, it's going to be something to watch out for.
All right.
I was just going to move on to Tyreek. You have him at 2. We don't have him that high. Josh, why do you have Tyreek Hill at 2?
I think it mostly stems from the fact that Waddle isn't what we thought he was going to be. And then Tyreek, just when he's on the field, it's 40 pointers in fantasy. It's 160 yards. It's pretty seemingly a touchdown every game. He really was going for that 2,000 yard mark. Ended up as wide receiver 2 last year, two the year before. I clearly think that he could be number 1 with Jefferson and Chase both dealing with their own issues. So he was the one wide receiver I vaulted up in kind of that wake of the weirdness of what's going on with the wide receiver situation. I mean, obviously, I think Jefferson and Chase are, at this time of their career, better wide receivers, but Tyreek Hill still continues to do it week after week. And it's just is what it is until it's broken. I mean, it's the same thing with Kelsey. It's like we're not going to take him away from the top 1 or 2 tight end until he stops doing it. And he's 37 years old or something.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I love Tyreek Hill. My only argument against it is every move that the Dolphins made this year indicated that they want to get the ball in someone else's hands other than just making Tyreek carry this team.
I think they realized
last year, but
I think they realized the fact that they just didn't have like anyone else after Tyreek went down, and they're like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, I agree with you.
No, I think you're right. A lesson that the Cowboys didn't learn, by the way, because literally, I think if CD holds out, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. I mean, their offense isn't going to work if CD's not out there. That's not normally the case. I know it's normally like, oh, well, they'll just next man up. It'll be fine. CD was like so much of that offense last season. If they don't get him out there, like that's going to be a problem. Whereas the Miami Dolphins are like, well, maybe we should figure out another plan just in case. But I get it.
Well, and I hate to play the what ifs or whatever, but like even if he plays, what if he gets injured? There's literally nothing on this team. Like they at least had Pollard last year. The Eagles learned this last year when AJ went down. They were dead in the water at that point. I mean, you got to have depth, and at this point, it's Flournoy and Cooks and couple other guy, Ferguson, I guess, and then Zeke. I mean, Royce Freeman, they're going to carry the workload and make this to the team to the playoffs. Like, I can't believe that they made no additions. I love that they didn't, but here we are.
No, it's a disaster waiting to happen. The Cowboys are the literal this season, the literal house of cards team, because one thing goes wrong and the whole thing collapses. I'm sorry, it just is going to, and that's why we haven't missed in the playoffs. Honestly, when we did our division previews, just because if one thing happens the wrong way or one person holds out or whatever, this whole team's going down.
But that being said, that's why CD Lamb is 1, 2, 3 for us, because if he's playing, he's getting all the points. So let's go ahead and just shift on to the second
before we shift on there, I just want to point something out that I think is helpful, and I think everyone should be doing when they're doing their fantasy football research, is make an argument for and against every player on this list, 150 players. Go on and say, what is the best that this person can do and what happens, like what is my argument against them? And if the good outweighs the bad, then that's who you target. I like doing this thought process a lot of times. This is where I get higher on a lot of players throughout my draft process and everything. But I always try to argue both sides of the coin, especially when I got 2 smart guys on my pod with me. They're going to call me out all the time. So I try to be prepared in the least bit. But it's a really good process, especially when you're doing your own rankings for your fantasy drafts and everything. Try it out. You'll be more well-informed.
Well said, Joe. And honestly, I will say you guys do challenge. That's what I love about this podcast is we challenge each other. And I have a feeling we're going to get really challenged here very soon. And I think it's me. So let's go ahead and get to the second round. Jahmyr Gibbs, number 13, start out the second round. Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Etienne, Puka, Marvin Harrison at 19, Kyron Williams, Mike Evans, Travis Kelce, Olave, and Drake London at 24 to round out the second round. Before we get to the crazy part, I want to go ahead and talk about 13, somebody who just nearly missed the first round, and it was because of Joe. Jahmyr Gibbs, why do you have him at 17 and we have him at 13 and 11?
I love Jahmyr Gibbs. He's one of my guys. I just think that there is a lot going on in this offense that we expect just to click. We expect Laporta to be awesome. We expect Jameson Williams to come out of the gate and in his year 3 be an alpha. We expect Amon-Ra to be an incredible wide receiver. We expect David Montgomery to pick up where he left off. If this whole team is healthy, I think Gibbs got he got the benefit of Montgomery missing time and then coming back, and he was doing so good that why would you rush Montgomery back? I love how electric Jahmyr Gibbs is, but if he's not getting, 18 carries a game, like 15 to 18 carries a game, and he's just relying on the receptions, I would take him later than he's going now currently. I still have him at 17, so I'm not totally off.
No, definitely not. I just it's funny because you have Gibbs in 2 of the leagues we're in together, and I mean we're in a lot of leagues together, but that seems like a good percentage if nobody's listening. I think the craziest thing about Gibbs is just looking at him, like, yeah, he had 52 catches, but he had 316 yards. That is not great. I mean, his average catching the ball was less than running the ball. So I think those numbers go up, obviously, and I think that's why I have him. And it's just one of those people who's like, this is the next CMC. This is the next person who can do both through the Kamara, through the air and on the ground. I mean, and it was his rookie year, and he did it. So it's like you have to imagine it's going up. But I do agree with you. There's so many options in playing. Like, what if Jameson Williams actually is an 800-yard receiver, even like or better? You know what I mean? Then who loses out? Is it Montgomery? Is it Laporta? Is it Amon-Ra?
Probably
I mean, like,
Laporta, sadly.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of them. But I also think another reason that Gibbs benefited so much last year was that defense was horrible. I mean, the Lions kept people in the game. You know, they would score 30 points. We saw it in the playoffs when they lost. They went up real big on the 49ers, right? And then they came back and won that game because that defense was so bad. We saw them go get Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold, so we'd expect the back end. Brian Branch is back healthy. I don't know. I think the team kind of, in my opinion, is going more towards Montgomery actually closing out games as opposed to them trying to maintain a lead with Gibbs.
I think the biggest question is who's getting the touchdowns. Gibbs got 11 last year. Montgomery got 13. Laporta and Amon-Ra both got 10. So like everyone got touchdowns last year, and that's what helps. And it's like at this point, what if J-Mo gets 8? You know, who's that? Whose bag is that coming out of?
No, it's really. I mean, the Lions. I think we brought it up. Sorry, Bill. We talked about how they're playing like 15 of their games indoors, and I'm just going to go with Goff. That's why I'm so high on Goff. I'm just going to get the guy who has the ball in his hands on every play and just let it play out.
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, isn't that me? Okay. Yeah. So the Jahmyr Gibbs thing, I think the best part of him is that like he was doing after week 10 most of this without even a 60% snap share, and that was impressive enough. I mean, with 58% snap share, RB2 on the week, 56% snap share, he was RB3 for the week, and then 2 later during the fantasy playoffs, he was 58 and 48 and percentage, and was RB3 both of those weeks. I think it's just proven that I don't think it matters. I think it matters a lot less than we're making it out to be. They kept the OC in place, which was huge. Literally, if they lost Ben Johnson, I'd have been out on every single person on this offense except for Jared Goff, because then we just have to figure out how this new guy is going to use everybody. But Ben Johnson already knows. He's literally cooking with the same recipe book that he did last year, except now he actually knows how the ingredients meld together. And I think that is just going to make this offense hum this season, whereas we might have had some hiccups last season. I think this season they could even be better than they were last season. So I think that what we saw last year could even have potentially been the floor, and we could still see a little bit raising of the ceiling a little bit, just because they have another year all in the same offense, same people, and then maybe you add a little frosting on top with J-Mo. Maybe, I don't know. See how it goes with the dish.
I just feel like the target here, like Joe said, is Goff, and it's Montgomery. And obviously Amon-Ra. I mean, I don't think anything really touches him with the off, even if J-Mo's good. And that's just another running mate that makes Amon-Ra open more, which it's not like he can even be open more. But I think Montgomery, just price value wise in drafts, if it really is a 50-50 split again, which is pretty much what it was last year, I'm cool with it. And yes, the 50 points through the air just via catches for Gibbs was great. And you're gonna get value there, but it's like, are you returning first round value? Because that's pretty much where he's gonna be going in most drafts. I mean, if I get him on the back end and I get to pair him and Saquon or him and AJ Brown, I'm cool with that. I get that. That's essentially, think about it as your second round picks, a 23rd pick at that point or something. So I don't know. It's just interesting. Anyone else that stands out for different weird rankings? Or
I still think we should save, because I know what we're getting to with the Drake London thing. We'll tackle that here in a second. I just think, Josh, you should probably explain Puka, because me and Joe had him at 20, but you're still alone up there with the Puka as a first-round player hive. So what was your reasoning behind that?
Yeah, man, this is, once again, if the man did it in his rookie year, I can only imagine that being in the same room. We thought Matt Stafford wouldn't be able to do it last year. He clearly was able to do it and really made a new guy a Cooper Kupp. So I'm not saying Cooper Kupp's bad. I don't think Cooper Kupp is. I think, like Joe said, I think in a previous podcast, it's going to be a 1A, 1B type thing. I just think that they are both ones. And I think Puka has the chance, just fresh legs, younger. He looked amazing last year, and I don't see this stopping. Like, I think if anything, it's going to be similar or more touchdowns. So I think the targets are still there. It's what he does with them, and it's one of those things where it's like, why the hell was Cooper Kupp always open? Puka was doing it too, and it's such a weird. Sean McVay might just be a genius. I'm not 100% sure.
It's funny.
I think he is a genius.
We'll get to that in a second. By the way, with Kupp. Yeah, go Joe.
No, I like Puka. I just, we'll talk. Do you want to wait on Kupp, or do you just want to
go ahead and tackle Kupp?
We'll just do the Kupp thing now too, because you said that they're right next to each other, which me and Joe actually held pretty firm with that, but you put them down in the 40s, which would not be close, 12 to 43. I would not call that 1A, 1B in any way, shape, or form. So why? What do you mean by 1A, 1B? You mean 1A and then 2 or 3C maybe?
I put him where I would draft him at. I think in that Stephon Diggs, Brandon Ayuk role, I have him way lower than you guys do, which we'll get to, I imagine. But yeah, I think the Devontae Smiths, DJ Moore's above him, DK Metcalf. I mean, the ones or twos on their teams that have the chance to break out as well. I mean, Cooper Kupp's not getting any younger, guys. I just it's nothing. I guess I'm Joe. I guess once a wide receiver hits 31, I'm just out.
You're out. No, I feel it. I just like Cooper Kupp to me. I just don't think with age he gets worse with the position he plays. Like, Tyreek Hill, I'm worried about, when does the speed drop off? When does the speed drop off? Cooper Kupp was never the speed guy. He was the route running guy, that kind of what we see Adam Thielen doing right now in Carolina, who is also a value. But I mean, we saw Cooper Kupp go into the season injured with the hamstring. Dr. Tom was on here and said, hey, there's a 60% chance this happens again. Sure enough, hurts his hamstring again. Now going into the season healthy, I think he takes the one spot back, and Puka is a really solid number 2. I just can't justify the price where Puka is going right now as a first round pick
I agree. I probably won't be targeting Puka that much in that sense. I mean, I think he's even higher than what I have him listed as. So I think I went down a little bit. It's just not as far down as you guys went, which I like Puka. I think that he's 2 injured seasons with Kupp. It's just like, why not grab the guy who's young and fresh and more than likely going to be kind of handed the keys to the kingdom eventually, even though the keys to that kingdom is kind of decrepit, falling apart and haunted. But Aaron Hall.
I'm just willing to bet that, Kupp was the Triple Crown guy in 2022. I would bet that, 2 years removed from that, we're going to see.
Do we want to do a fireball bet just for fun? Not who finishes?
That'd be
higher?
awesome. Come up with it.
I got Kupp. You got Puka.
No.
I'm just kidding. Vice versa.
I do, before we move on, I do want to point out, because we have Josh Jacobs at 16, and the industry on Fantasy Pros has him at 47. So we have him at 18, 18, and 17. So we're all in complete agreements here on Josh Jacobs, but the industry is significantly lower than we are on this guy. So
I have a thing for that. So the thing is everyone assumes and remembers the Green Bay Packers as a split backfield. But the thing they keep forgetting to remember is A.J. Dillon's not good. And so they're going to – and yes, they drafted Marshawn Lloyd, but that's next year. That's not this year. They're going to keep using A.J. Dillon. And he's going to get his carries, and it's going to be 5 to 7 carries a game, and they're going to suck. But Jacobs is going to go out there and he's going to do exactly what he did. This is the guy who literally was the number 1 running back or rushing yards in football 2 years ago, got injured, had his job taken from him, went to a team that, in my opinion, is just going to greatly benefit from a good running back like this. Obviously, I'm not saying Aaron Jones was over the hill by any means, but they kind of saved Aaron Jones, and I don't think they're saving Jacobs. Jacobs is getting that ball a lot and often. He's going to do a lot with it because there is the threat to throw at any given moment. So I don't think there's going to be any arguments for anyone on this team.
There's a reason they went and got Jacobs. I mean, that's what we're saying. I think we're all saying here is like, there's a reason they let Aaron Jones walk and then paid Josh Jacobs to come in there. It's not for him to finish lower than, like, it's not for him to be a 3rd or 4th round back. It's for him to be a 2nd round back. They have a really good O-line that Jordan Love benefited from handsomely last season. And if they can take some of the pressure off of Jordan Love to make all these crazy come from behind wins and win these close games, like, they need somebody who can churn the clock. That's Josh Jacobs. I mean, Marshawn Lloyd might spell him a little bit. I mean, AJ Dillon will go do whatever he's doing out there. It's not necessarily running, but it's playing football, I guess. As long I think this Josh Jacobs backfield. We don't need to sugarcoat this. I think the rest of the industry is kind of just overthinking it a little bit.
Well, in drafts, Pacheco and James Cook are both ranked above him. And don't get me wrong, what Pacheco did was great last year, but then they just went and got a bunch of wide receivers for this team. So like you have to imagine they're gonna not switch gears away from Pacheco, but it's gonna be more of a passing offense again. It's Mahomes. I mean, they had one last year, and one was a tough one at that. And then we got James Cook, who's got a running back coming in, and they're going to be throwing a lot because Josh Allen's going to have to figure out where his weapons are. So like weird to me that those guys are going higher than a guy like Josh Jacobs, who is a true bell cow.
It's kind of crazy. All right, well, let's just get to it. We all need to hear it. So we have Drake London at 24. Joe has him at 14. I have him at 19. And then Josh, 47. Why do you hate Drake London?
Because he's finished as wide receiver 30 the first 2 years of his career, and I think he ends up as a wide receiver 20 or so this year. I will say that I don't think Kirk Cousins is what you guys think as, in fantasy, it's great. He does great things. He's not a winning football player. This team's not going to be as good as you think just because they have Bijan Robinson. They drafted these 3 guys in a row. I think there's a chance that either Pitts or London are good, but I don't think there's a chance that both of them are good. And I think that Drake London being in the second round is the silliest thing that you can do. You just talked about how you don't want Puka, who literally clearly showed it last year, and even with Cooper Kupp on the field. But you got Drake London, a completely unproven guy. We know what he can be. We do know what he can be. But like sometimes that just doesn't translate. And I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is bad by any means, but like I don't think he's as good as everyone thinks he is. I think people think that that's solved a problem. And I think in reality it was just like, hey, we don't have Desmond Ridder anymore, and that's super cool. Like it's going to be just an okay team.
This is a shocking take to me. Joe, if you want to go first, you can.
No, you go first. I'll back you up.
Well, let's just put it out there. Justin Jefferson, we don't even know if Justin Jefferson's good without Kirk Cousins. We don't really know that.
Oh, sure. My God, no.
He was pretty good with backup quarterbacks, but, I mean, I wouldn't call what he did without him wide receiver 47. No.
You're telling me that Kirk Cousins propped up Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson didn't prop up Kirk Cousins.
He might have, but Kirk Cousins was throwing to Stephon Diggs and doing the same things with Stephon Diggs before Justin Jefferson got there.
I need fantasy receipts.
That's what you seem to forget, right? Like, do you remember Stephon Diggs?
Can you self-submit to fantasy receipts? Because I want to self-submit.
Sure. That would be pretty epic.
No, but do you remember Stephon Diggs? Do you know him when he played with the Vikings?
Diggs.
Do you remember how good he was with the Vikings? He was consistently top 5 wide receiver.
Josh Allen too.
Yeah, he was good, but I'm saying like now Kirk Cousins is on to the next guy, like, and now he's got to have another person that is that person.
Yeah, but I don't think
who else profiles is that on this team? Who else profiles is that on this team?
I guess in that same argument, Kirk Cousins had one guy pretty much both times, or his entire career of the Vikings.
He had T.J. Hawkinson last season too, and he had Addison. He propped both of those guys up too.
He was injured like week 7, wasn't he? Like. Propped up is hard to say.
Okay, fine. The season before he had Hawkinson halfway through, and Hawkinson was having a perfectly good season.
Sure, we'll go along with
this. So why now, out of the last 8 seasons, would he suddenly not have a wide receiver that's in the top 45 of players?
Okay,
all of a sudden,
I just want to talk about how you have him at 14 and 19, guys. That is a almost first round pick, like for Joe's sake.
And he should be. All right, let me hop in here.
Silly.
Okay, so we had Marcus Mariota, we had Desmond Ridder, and we had Taylor Heineke, none of which are even remotely near a starting lineup in the NFL, throwing to this guy. And on top of that, last year we had Arthur Smith. Was he there 2 years ago as well? I can't remember. But we have an entirely new offense, which is a McVay system with Zach Robinson coming in. We know that Drake London coming out of USC was incredible. I mean, I think we all said, oh, this dude's Mike Evans. Like, plug and play Mike Evans. He's phenomenal. He's played on a horrible offense the last 2 years. No quarterback to speak of. And then we finally get Kirk Cousins in here. And if Kirk Cousins is halfway decent, I mean, I'm still worried about his Achilles. I don't know. I think he'll be okay. But I think Drake London is going to have a ton of targets, a ton of catches. And, you know, he hasn't really been a red zone threat this year because this team can't do shit in the red zone. I mean, they're winning games by 13 points. Everything, it's like a trifecta of Drake London goodness right now. And I'm totally here for it.
Just back to this whole topic. This team was a shit show, as we've said. And, you know, Kirk Cousins is the savior riding in his golden horse and his golden stallion with his hair flowing behind him in the wind. And everybody watched quarterback, and he's just such a nice guy. Bijan Robinson did it just fine. No problem. I understand he's running back.
Really.
Kyle Pitts did it his rookie year. I mean, both these guys did it. Why couldn't Drake London do it in either of the years? Why was he above when considering he was the only guy, and there's been only guys on other teams who have shitty quarterbacks. Terry McLaurin's gone for 1,000 yards every season of his career. And I'm sorry, but like he's done it with shitty quarterbacks and literally one of the same, Tyler Heineke. So like,
I think it's a combination of really shitty play calling and really shitty quarterbacks.
I'm sorry, you're not going to change my mind on Drake London, where he's going. I mean, I would draft him in the 40s. That's why I put him there. I mean, maybe a little higher, early 4th round pick, sure, but I'm not grabbing him anytime earlier than that. I think that's silly. You can make the argument for 3rd for other people, not me. 2nd round, you are fucking high. Like, there's no way. He's not a 2nd round, and we can go ahead and fireball bet that too. I
mean, I think that'll be an easy victory because honestly, this would be the worst season in over a decade for Kirk Cousins if he doesn't have a wide receiver this good. So like you're betting against a decade out. Joe makes a good point with the Achilles. Maybe he's not going to be the same. We don't know.
Kirk Cousins is 35 years old, and
his arm's okay. I mean,
his arm's not 35 years old. He got a new one put in when he was in China last year.
Brady was doing
you're
just
good
fine
with you're good with Aaron Rodgers. You're good with Aaron Rodgers, but you're not good with Kirk Cousins. Coming off the same injury.
What he's saying, and
5 years younger is what I'm hearing.
Older.
Aaron Rodgers has more weapons, in my opinion.
No.
What are you talking about? He has 2.
The ghost of Mike Evans, Mikhail Corley, who isn't even Xavier Gibson's going to.
Well, Mike Williams isn't even an NFL player, to joke.
He's not. And he's never been healthy, and he's already hurt.
Just Brees and Garrett Wilson. That's pretty much it. Like I don't think the rest of those guys.
I know you guys hate Mike Williams.
Oh yeah, we got Tyler Conklin there too, I guess. Yeah.
We also got Lazard, but he loves Lazard. I mean, I don't think Lazard's good, but he likes him. I don't know. You know, it's kind of like a taste thing. Like I don't personally like ciders, but some people like them. You know what I mean?
Which, by the way, with more weapons, you would think that would take the ball away from Garrett Wilson, who you still have put up way higher than Drake London. I don't know. I just feel like you may be overthinking it a bit, but that's just
wasn't I right about Kyle Pitts? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you guys just love the Falcons.
Okay, but this is a new thing. Like this is a new.
No.
You don't think Kirk Cousins is better than the past 5 quarterbacks they've had?
Yes, I do, but I don't think it's better than the other 12 wide receivers that I have listed.
Like Drake London was, I think, wide receiver 31 last year with absolute garbage. Like you don't think he can make a move up
Puka at 12, and I'm a terrible person, but you guys have Drake London at 14, and that's way different.
Because he's splitting with a potential other wide receiver 1. Like that.
So what do you call Kyle Pitts? You guys have called Kyle Pitts a wide receiver his whole career. He's a wide receiver. Like he's basically a wide receiver. He goes and he can do it just as good as.
We've seen Kirk Cousins do both a tight end and a wide receiver on the same team at the same time. We've literally seen it. Same with Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford can also do my both draft. At the same
Those
time.
picks are way too important. I'd much rather grab myself someone who I know is going to be a sure thing.
Like Puka, I guess. I don't know. Wow, but
Puka gives major Christian Watson vibes. I don't understand how.
Okay, here's the fireball bet, Josh. Puka Nacua or Drake London. That's the fireball bet. Who finishes higher?
I thought both our fireball bets were great. I already have the Puka over Cup, and then we're saying that Drake London's not a 2nd round pick.
Okay, we can do that. So he has to finish as 24 better. Okay.
I'll give you guys that.
We can move on. I have to write this down.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do the other touchy subject here. You guys both have. Well, this is actually technically in the 3rd round, so let's just go ahead and read off the 3rd round. And we'll come back if there's any other people we want to talk about. 25, Sam Laporta, Nico Collins, Isaiah Pacheco, Brandon Ayuk, Lamar Jackson, Pittman, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Hurts, Deebo Samuel, James Cook, and Patrick Mahomes. And we're going to go ahead and touch on Brandon Ayuk because my only reason right here is I don't think Ayuk sees the field. And we've had this argument. We're not going to have the argument, but he's low right now because he's not practicing. He has said as much that he doesn't want to play for this team. He has come out with videos on social media. That's my biggest issue with this. And yes, he would go up higher if he signed and started practicing right now. So yes, I do have Deebo vaulted up a little bit there too. So although Joe still has Deebo pretty high too.
I like Deebo a lot. I like Ayuk a lot. My opinion, Ayuk plays. I have him ranked as he is going to play. It is concerning. But unless Brandon Ayuk wants to pull a Le'Veon Bell, which we saw how well that worked for him, I think he's going to be out there. And maybe with the videos we saw today of him essentially looking like he was saying bye, maybe he does get traded. I doubt it, but
well, it also depends on where he goes. You know what I mean? Like, what if he goes somewhere where he's buried? You know what I mean? Like, there's always that issue. So I could see like the Dolphins getting him, and then you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So
this is as is. If he stays here, in 2 weeks, if we're still dealing with this nonsense, I'll probably change that ranking. But
I just went ahead. As of right now, it doesn't look like he's going to play. So therefore, on this team at least. But if obviously, like I could go either way. So I don't want to have a whole Drake London argument again. That we did that.
Well, I feel like this argument's less of an argument because it's all contingent.
I disagree with you.
I think we all agree on this one.
Well, I'm talking about Ayuk,
14 and 19.
The Ayuk conversation does not need to happen because it's contingent on something else happening.
Yeah.
Listen.
But I do want to talk about how Joe, his QB1 is Mr. Lamar Jackson. And for one time in his entire life, he drafted or has it at least listed as a quarterback in the second round at 22. And me and Billy both have him at 30 and 39 respectively. So, or opposite way. I have him 39. But Joe, why do you love quarterbacks? As to frame it as a Billy question.
2024, new year, new me. I'm a quarterback guy now. I think Lamar Jackson, out of the quarterbacks that are being taken in the top 5, has the best chance of finishing number 1 overall. He's got the weapons. He's got Derrick Henry there. There's no way you can defend. You can't put a spy on Lamar Jackson when you got Derrick Henry standing right behind him. The math in my brain is just like, dude, Lamar Jackson's going to have a killer fucking year. And even if a couple of those rushing, he's going to see some lower yardage rushing probably. Probably not going to see many rushing touchdowns, but this whole offense, he's going to throw for a ton of touchdowns just by having Derrick Henry there. We have Zay Flowers going into year 2. We got Likely and Andrews there. We got Tez Walker going deep on stuff. And I mean, everything out of camp news is Rashad Bateman's looking pretty good too. So I think when you get all that, plus Keaton Mitchell coming back from the ACL kind of halfway through the year, I think this offense is just going to be borderline unstoppable. So I want the piece with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Billy?
I don't have any disagreement. I ranked him about the same. I've never not been in on quarterbacks. I personally won't be one of the people that's taking a quarterback this high because I think it's a little ridiculous. I have him at 30, which I still probably would not take him at 30 because I'll wait and get one of the like Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Tua, like one of those guys later on. But I don't honestly blame the people that try these strategies. Don't often see them working, but it's never a bad thing. You always get the whoa in the room when you put the name up on the board with the little sticker. That's always fun when
you're
you
the
get
first
that
to draft a quarterback
reaction. Yeah, people are like, oh shit! Like, and they flip their page and start scribbling a name on the quarterback sheet. Like that is fun.
Have that sheet out.
Exactly. I wouldn't do it personally. I don't want to be the one that gets that reaction, but somebody would.
I'm more of the guy to, and I don't want to say I'd react because like I'm not going to grab more Joe grabs him at 20, like 3rd round, 4th round, sure. Like someone grabs Lamar in the 3rd, I'm like, ooh, all right. Am I grabbing Hurts or Mahomes? You know what I mean? Like that's when I'm starting to have that conversation. Right. I personally have Hurts at number 1. Shocker, weird, but Lamar is not far behind there. I think the biggest thing that in general for Lamar is that he passed last year. And I say passed because he surpassed the 3,000 yard mark and had the highest passing yards in his career at 3,600. So, and then still had the rushing numbers. So that's the thing. And as Joe said, Henry is there. So it's going to make his passing even better at that point. They've invested in the wide receiver position. They have 2 tight ends that we've talked about. Hopefully they both use, but this goes to my whole point here is why the hell is Josh Allen QB number 1 on everybody's rankings?
Dude, I was just going to bring that up.
What is
every draft I am in, he is the number 1 quarterback off the board. And
did we forget that he lost both of his top 2 wide receivers and literally added Keon Coleman and I'm sorry, who else? No, Shaheed was already
Curtis Samuel.
Shakir.
Well, here's the thing. You all haven't heard about this, but in camp, he's actually been catching the balls too. He's been throwing them up to himself and then catching them in the end zone. So he's also going to add
the case, number 1 overall.
That does count.
Also add receiving to his game.
Or maybe he's just looking for those batted balls so he can run the ball more. Like, are people okay? So, but seriously, like on a serious note, like, do people assume that he's going to be rushing more? Is that what it is? Like, he already rushes a lot for one. He got 15 touchdowns on the ground last year, which was pretty unheard of for him. He was QB1 for sure. Passing numbers were down. Like, I mean, the touchdowns were there, but it was essentially a tush push. I mean, without the whole formality.
Have you all seen the movie The Big Short? Like with the housing crisis bubble thing. Well, this feels like a bubble because it feels like in that movie they kept saying like, why isn't the bubble burst yet? Like, how can this not happen? Like, the economy should be failing by now. What the hell is going on? Well, this is kind of like this with Josh Allen because he should not be rushing the ball this much. He should not be like using his body in this way anymore. Like, it's got to stop eventually. And like, we kept betting on it a couple of years ago saying, well, they brought Leonard Fournette in. Well, they brought in blah, blah, blah. They brought in this person. Like, he's not going to be running the ball this much. Somebody else is going to be pushing it in from the end zone. And it hasn't happened. So at this point, it's kind of one of those, like, it's got to fail eventually. Eventually, the Bills have to say to themselves, this guy can't get hurt or this team is screwed. Our window is already creaking, barely open, I would say. And if he goes down, the whole thing is over. Like, it's over, and the Bills' economy has officially crashed. So I just think it's a matter of time unless they start getting like Ray Davis. James Cook finally learns how to run it in from the 4-yard out. Like, until we start getting into these steps, I guess people are just going to keep putting Josh Allen up there, and that's what's going to happen. I don't know. It's weird to me.
The only argument I can remotely make for Josh Allen is they gutted that defense. That defense is going to be really fucking bad. So Josh Allen could have to throw the ball 50 times a game.
But to
which could work out in his favor. I mean, if you're throwing it 50 times, you're going to. The
only thing I'm seeing here is this is making Kincaid's argument to be tight end 1. Like, that's my argument for all of this. Like, I don't want the other. I mean, I'll grab flyers on Curtis Samuel and these other wide receivers. Keon Coleman honestly might be a really good value even in drafts. I haven't really seen him go up on the draft stock, which I'm assuming he'll have a good preseason game and his stock will probably rise. He'll probably be the next Antonio Gibson, like where or Dameon Pierce that sneaks up the board. It's just wild to me. But anyway, let's move on.
One more thing about that, just to cap it off with the Keon Coleman thing. There was a reason they didn't draft him in the first round. Right? Like, that was an easy way to get a 5th-year option on the end of his rookie contract, was to take him in the first round. They traded down twice to get out of the first round, and they took him first pick in the second round and didn't get that 5th year. That makes me think they don't believe in him as much personally, because if you did, you would do that so you could get that 5th-year option. I don't know. The Bills, I don't really know what we're doing, but it does not seem good. Just saying.
Is McDermott on the hot seat more than anyone?
I think everybody in the building except for the owner is on the hot seat.
No.
Yeah,
I like it.
Sad times.
So at this point, we're just kind of going through any rankings that we think are just out there, like outlandish or, and I do want to point one out, but I'll let you guys talk because I feel like I've been talking a lot. So.
No, point it out what you feel.
Are we bringing up Malik Neighbors and Joe?
No, we're not doing the Ferrari in the garage thing. We're doing the Kyler Murray conversation. So I have him at 100, and I think QB 8 or 9. Which, to be fair, like at this point, my QBs were spaced out pretty far. You guys kind of did more of a block of QBs. Like, I just think that's kind of more how it goes because once the top 5 get off the board, I feel like people wait a little bit longer. So in reality, it's probably more like 30 picks lower, but you guys both have him in the 50s. And I don't know what QB you have, Matt, but are we just like forgetting that Kyler Murray's a choke artist, or like are we that in on Marvin Harrison, which I guess we didn't really touch on either with Marvin Harrison. Maybe this is a combo here. Marvin Harrison, I have him at 23. You guys both have him at 16. I'm not saying that he's not great. I think he's phenomenal. To draft him early second round, which I mean, we're splitting hairs here, but like I wanted to put him at 25, but I just couldn't because like I just wanted him in the 3rd round because it's just like it's a rookie wide receiver. I want to see it first. It's hard to like bet my cap on it because like putting your second pick in a draft and then building around that's a lot harder. Those are the danger picks. That's why I don't want Jake London in the 2nd round. But like, what is it about Kyler Murray that you guys are in on? And I know probably know the answer, but I want to hear it from you.
When Kyler came back last year, he was QB9 in points scored. We know the NFC West has horrible defensive backs outside of Seattle. Plus, you add in Marvin Harrison. We saw McBride coming on. Dortch is there. You like Wilson coming up. I just think it all makes a ton of sense and plus Arizona's defense sucks. So he's going to have to be throwing the ball a lot. He showed he can do it last year. We're still going to get those rushing touchdowns from Kyler Murray. I don't think that's going away. He showed it coming back from an ACL. So I'm all in on Kyler Murray this year.
I guess my thing is like we saw it his first 2 years, and then we heard the Call of Duty stuff and the locker room stuff and the not planning or playing. Hopefully he's off of that, especially after 2 injuries. He's had plenty of time to play video games and, learn the playbook. But like, to me, it's like, you don't see, even when he had Hopkins at the end of his, at his tenure here, like, I just felt like you weren't seeing 300-yard, 3-touchdown games. You're seeing 251 touchdown game. And yes, there's rushing yards attached to it, which, Mighty Mouse. But I think the biggest issue for me is I think the rushing yards go down, and I think it just makes him become a quarterback. And that's my biggest fear, is that he's just okay as a quarterback, being smaller stature, like, as a short guy, I like to, 5'10". So they call it short, basically just a midget, little person. Sorry, my apologies. But in general, Kyler Murray to me is just, I don't see him as a pocket passer, and I see him needing to be that pocket passer to stay healthy. So
I don't know. I think the worry has gone too far. His first 2 years when he was completely healthy, QB6, QB3, got hurt his junior year basically, and was QB10, and then he's had the last 2 seasons where he's been hurt. They finally got rid of Cliff Kingsbury, which was the problem because he was a terrible head coach. They actually have an adult in the room now who's building a defense. The defense is not ready to go yet, so the offense is going to have to be better. And I just think with a full year of Kyler Murray, we're going to be fine. He just is going to cook. He's going to have to run more. We think James Conner's on the way down and potentially Trey Benson's coming in. So we don't know if we're going to necessarily trust the run game as much. But Kyler's going to have to be Kyler for them to be good and to win the game. So I don't really need him to be a pocket passer. I just need him to get the ball to Maserati Marv every now and then, hit Trey McBride, and then scramble into the end zone, which he's always good for because he's faster than everybody on the defense.
See, I feel like you guys just get stars in your eyes when you see stars on the team, though. Like, I feel like you guys both hated Kyler Murray last year.
Who is the star on this team? Are you talking about the rookie or Trey McBride?
Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride are the stars on the team. So now, therefore, yes, 2 rookies on the team.
I hated Kyler Murray last year because he was injured, and his number 1 receiver was Hollywood Brown, and there was no real tight end because Zach Ertz was, 30, 40 years old.
I would love to hear a random football player who does not play fantasy football at all. If you said to them, like, is this a good star-led offense with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I'm not
he would
saying
be like, is that the dad? The dad's not on the team, right? Like, no, I don't think anybody would know or care or think that's.
I feel like you guys just got stars in your eyes because you see the 2 big names next to, and then you're like, well, that's got to trickle down to Kyler, right? Like,
I mean, that's why I really
got a rookie in there and was amazing. So I don't know. I guess it could.
I really like Kirk Cousins last year because of Jefferson and Hawkinson and Addison.
I mean, yeah, there you go.
Well, he tore his Achilles, so you don't have an argument.
Well, he's also
still
been
injuries.
I'm not. He's QB 11 on the years. Like, I mean, even on his good years, he was QB 11. We're not. Why are we pretending like he's literally the best quarterback in the league? You know, back to Kirk Cousins at that point. But Kyler,
you just hate quarterbacks this year.
I didn't know.
I'm not vaulting
you
these
hated
quarterbacks
Kirk
up
Cousins.
over the. We have all these new guys coming in. CJ Stroud. We have Joe Burrow. We have the hope of some of these other guys who are like, I mean, like that's like me being like, I believe in Bryce Young because they added, some stars to this team. Well, stars is tough word, but they added more talent to this team. So therefore, he's going to be better. Like I think he'll be better, but I don't think I don't know. I feel like Will Levis has just a great chance to be right where Kyler Murray is.
There is no way you're saying that Will Levis and Kyler Murray are going to be near each other in points.
I think they will. I think the QB 10
God,
and 11 will be perfectly
This
fine.
shouldn't even be a fireball bet. Like
I'm actually going to side with Josh that Will Levis could finish pretty close to Kyler this year.
I just feel like you're vaulting him in the QB 5 range, and like there are 5 Q. I'd rather have Josh Allen at that point. We talked about how people are ridiculously drafting him high, and then at that point,
ironically, Josh has Will Levis ranked the lowest of any of us. But
yeah, Anthony Richardson, another person who's going to be ranking above Kyler Murray in your guys' eyes. Like I don't see where Kyler Murray fits in this. Like
it's the rushing upside, and it's adding Marvin Harrison, who
I understand that. That's what I said. That's what I said, and Billy started arguing with me.
No, but we like what Kyler's got, and then you add Marvin Harrison.
You see stars. It's like not stars. It's like upside, a rookie upside. It's like when the Bengals added Jamar Chase. He wasn't a star. He was just the 5th pick in the draft.
You didn't count Jamar Chase as a star his rookie year. I feel like everyone else did.
I mean, how broad of a brush is star then? If we're talking about rookies who haven't played it down yet.
Star would be an amazing player that's coming into the league who has been a star in his life. I didn't say NFL star. I don't know why are we arguing about this? This is the dumbest thing I've ever argued about with you on the podcast, and I have argued about some dumb things with you. So, on to the next one.
I just want to point out real quick here a couple of guys. I mean, we have Christian Kirk a lot higher than the consensus. We have Evan Ingram a lot higher than the consensus. Some names to keep an eye out for that we are much higher on than the rest of the industry.
People hate the Jaguars. I mean, that's what I'm finding out by because I've been listening to some NFL podcasts, kind of like to get ramped up for the season. Like not fantasy podcasts, but like overall NFL. People hate the Jaguars, man, and they just think the Jaguars are just going to suck this year. And I'm like, I don't know. I think the offense is okay. Like they played plenty well last year. I don't really see what they added or took away that would make this worse. I mean, it's pretty much the same guys with Brian Thomas. I think Josh said that last week. I mean, that's kind of what we're going for here.
Yeah, another guy that we didn't touch on, Ramondre Stevenson. I'm just adding another name to the mix. I mean, everyone's got him at like 70, and we've got him at 48.
We've always been a Stevenson fan here, but just to circle back to Kirk real quick, the reason is because he got injured last year, and so everyone was just like, he didn't do it. Like, he's not good anymore. And it's like, and he's just like, it's the what have you done for me lately situation. And it's like, look at the first, I don't know, 5 or 7 games. There was one bad one, his first game where Ridley, I think, got everything. And we all did the whole Ridley take, and then literally double digits from there on out. And then, a couple 8s and 7s, and then he got injured. And it's like, what's wrong with that? That is exactly what I want for my wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. Like, I'll take 13 to 19 points every game from that guy.
Exactly. And I think, Calvin Ridley had something crazy like 21 red zone targets or something crazy like that. Brian Thomas is good. He's not just going to get 21 red zone targets. So we have to assume that Kirk and Ingram are going to get more touchdowns this year because they were kind of lacking last year.
So we'll get back to Stevenson shortly, but Kirk and Pittman just are in like the same ballpark for me. I have Pittman way higher than both of you guys. I actually have him in the second round, and I don't think I'm wrong because this man, especially with Richardson, the first 3 games, 2 games or however long he lasted, was targeted 11, 12, and 11 times the first 3 games. And Richardson, who I did not expect to be throwing the ball very much, which he didn't, but he threw a lot of those to Pittman. And this is their wide receiver room. I mean, yes, they went out and drafted Adonai Mitchell. They have Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, the 5 tight ends that they have on their team that they can't pick one. Why does everyone hate Michael Pittman so much? Like, it makes no sense to me. And this is another person who's like super low on people's draft boards. And I think he's starting to creep up a bit, but it's like, it just doesn't make sense to me because this guy is literally the number 1 on the team, and there's nothing close. There's no 1B. There's no 2. There's no 2A. I don't even know what you do here. So anyway, we can circle back to Stevenson.
No, I mean, I think Stevenson just got paid, and there's not really anybody behind him. So I'm not. I think again, people aren't. This one's more of a math equation of like, there's not really anybody on the team. The quarterback is brand new. Ramondre's a perfect dump off guy. I mean, I know they have Antonio Gibson and a couple other guys there, but like Ramondre's a good guy for that. He's good at run blocking. Like, I think this is just like he's going to be fine. He's not going to get hurt this year, and the line should be a smidge better. Probably not great though. I mean, this smidge better though.
I think
as long as they run to the right and not the left, they'll be all right.
Pretty much.
The problem with Stevenson was with Zeke there, it was almost a complete split workload, and I feel like the Patriots just knew that they had no passing game, so they had to do it. And they were just trying to keep one fresh. They didn't want to injure Stevenson on a lost year. They bring in Zeke on a 1-year deal. They used them quite decently. Neither one were fantasy relevant, but the team wasn't fantasy relevant. Like there was pretty much no one on the team that could do anything. So it wasn't Stevenson's fault. And yeah, you bring in a rookie quarterback, you add some more wide receivers to the room, you do what you can to make field a decent roster. I think this is one of those Jaguar situations. Everyone's hating on the Patriots, but you have to believe Drake May is better than Mac Jones at this point, right? Like, I mean, you got an actual pocket quarterback. So
if he's not, they're going to be mad. They're going to be very mad.
I mean, honestly, it could be a curse for the Patriots. They did have Tom Brady for long enough.
True. All right. Well, we're an hour in. Let's get to like a couple more guys that we're really far apart on. Does anybody else have somebody they want to bring up? I have at least two I want to talk about.
I want to bring up Mostert because I'm slowly buying into Mostert a lot, and Josh, you have a 91. I have him at 58. Billy, you have him at 69. So we're pretty far apart on him. I'm slowly buying more and more back into him. I think he's a colossal value, and I've got him as my second running back in a lot of places, and I'm actually feeling pretty good about that. So expound on that.
I think I have him probably lower than the general consensus, but I feel like, yes, I agree. He's a steal at 70-ish where he's going. I think our average actually took him to right where he should be. Not where he should be, sorry, where he's going. But yeah, I agree. I think he could go up a lot more. I think the biggest issue here is this the end of Mostert? And that's where everyone's just thinking, but like, yeah, he won people leagues last year, but is this a Cordell Patterson moment? Like where you have the 1 year and then you draft him the next year and then you waste it. Like there's other running backs behind him that I'm taking. Like we have Swift lower than him. I think that he has the same chance that Mostert does to take off. I don't think Mostert's getting the lion's share anymore. I think there's games that he has that are good, but I'm looking for more consistency out of a running back in my opinion. So that is why he ended up a little lower on my rankings, but probably a little too low, if I'm being honest.
That's a valid argument because that's, I think, what I was originally about. I kind of have the same mindset on it. But when I was digging, he had 19 carries in the 5-yard line last year. I think he is their goal line and short yardage guy. I mean, I don't think Jalen Wright's going to get thrown into that role, even though we kind of, we expect Jalen Wright to get more involved throughout the year, and he could take that over. But I think, especially to start the season, I think Mostert is a hell of a value right now.
I like to think that Jalen Wright's coming in as the like Salvin Ahmed and like as needed basis, but honestly, there's also that fear of like, what if he takes off and hits a big one, and then Mostert's the one left in the dust? Because I doubt they give up on A-Chain so early in his career.
Yeah, I like A-Chain. Again, I made the argument that I just don't think he is going to get a ton of work just due to his size, but. I mean, as far as like the goal line, like Mostert had a ton of those 2 touchdown games. I could see that continue. I don't see what's stopping.
I see the argument for A-Chain and Mostert, honestly. Like A-Chain, you have the explosive, like, holy crap, he had 60 points in a game, and like he could do that again. We never know. Like, sure, he's going a little too high, but what if he hits it? He hits it. You know what I mean? And then this is the next LT, like AP, like big, like huge name running back, and he's on your team in the 2nd, 3rd round. And then Mostert, same argument, is like, he did it last year. What's going to stop him from doing it again this year? Like, other than the guys in the room, Mostert's been solid, and he also hit big holes, and he's also super fast. So, yeah, I want both of them on my team, if I'm being completely honest, but not together, preferably.
Yeah, just someone I wanted to highlight as a value that I'm seeing in drafts pretty consistently.
That's fair. All right. The one I want to get to is probably the hill I'm going to die on in every draft, and it's probably going to lose me quite a few leagues. I'm bringing up Lad McConkey. We have him at 95 overall. You both have him at 103. I have him at 76. I can already tell I'm going to be taking him way higher than everybody else. And I probably, when his name goes up on the board, everybody's going to be like, who the fuck is that? And I'm fine with that. I just I really hope that the way I think about him getting fed all of these dump off passes and these short slants that Justin Herbert likes to throw, and I think that Harbaugh wants this offense to start to run. I just hope that returns, 7th round to 8th round value. Am I going to lose leagues because of this? Do you guys both think that, or no? Because I took him that high?
I mean, what round are you talking to draft him?
Well, so I have him at 76, which I think is 7th in most
6th, 7th round.
Maybe 8th.
Yeah, that'd be like 6th round in 12-man leagues. But yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to draft him yet. Is the thing. I think he's your 3rd wide receiver if you went running back heavy, or he's your 4th wide receiver if you went wide receiver heavy. But I think that targeting, I think honestly, that's probably where he's going to end up going. But if that's where he's ranked at, projected in the 80s, and you snag him early, then I think that there's a possibility that you do lose out on a valuable player because you're getting him later. But there is that, it's more of a hopeful, right? This could work out. In my opinion, this is what Joe thinks Malik Neighbors is going to be and it's not anything against Malik Neighbors. It's the team. You know what I mean? Can Daniel Jones throw Malik Neighbors the ball? Is Ladd McConkey going to get the ball the most out of this weird wide receiver room that's brand new that we have no idea who Herbert's going to like the most? We assume that he's the number one, but I'm going to take flyers on all of them. I want Ladd McConkey on a team. I want Palmer on a team. I'll take DJ Chark as my last pick in the draft, which I think he probably will be. It's you don't know who the number one's going to be, and Herbert's going to be flinging the ball around. I know you said that the Chargers are going to be more of a run first offense, but in my opinion, we don't know what's going to happen. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins have injury histories. We don't know if Kamani Vidal is going to be able to kind of perform at the big leagues. So this whole team's a huge question mark, and I want all of them, which is super weird because they're so cheap. There's no high value person. Even Herbert's cheap.
Yeah, no, I agree with Josh and Billy. I agree with you, honestly. I mean, the math on Ladd McConkey, like you were saying, it's there. I just drafted Ladd McConkey in the league. I really like Ladd McConkey. It's just in this group of wide receivers. I mean, you got your Hopkins, your JSN, Cortland Sutton, Jordan Addison, Jameson Williams, and then you find over here Christian Watson. I mean, this pocket of wide receivers right here, all of them you can make a case for to potentially be a league winner, I think, in this realm. So if McConkey's your guy, go get him. I don't think it's a hill I'm going to die on, but I might climb halfway up and put a launch.
Where did you draft him in that league that you were talking about?
I think I got him in the 12th round. So I went Jacoby Myers. I think I went Ladd McConkey, Jacoby Myers on the turn. Because you start 3 wide receivers. So I was trying to grab all these guys. And I missed out on J-Mo and Christian Watson. They went right in front, so I just snagged Myers. And
so maybe I just shouldn't be talking about this. Let's just go back and erase the last part of what we just talked about so that I don't come off as desperate when people are like, you got to take him? I listened to the podcast.
People I think he's just a guy that a lot of people are sleeping on. I think you're absolutely correct. It's just, like I said, I'm not going to put my flag on Ladd McConkey breaking out, but I'd say there's a 70% chance that he will return a lot of value for you.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want him on a roster, and if he's going anywhere near where we have him, he's on my team, immediately. I mean, we're talking 3rd string wide receivers at this point, and 4th. It's your 4th wide receiver. That's taking Jameson Williams at that point, and hoping for the same concept of the breakout. So. One of my biggest things here is I have Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler above both of you. So you guys both have them in the hundreds. I have them both in the 70s. I love where they're going. This is back to the whole Rojo Fournette thing. I don't think that one of them is going to be, or they're both going to just be okay. I don't think it's a perfect split. One of them is going to be good. And I don't know who it is. I've flip-flopped back and forth on who's the number one. They seem to love Brian Robinson, and honestly, the more tape I watch of Brian Robinson, I do like him. I just hate him because of how they did Antonio Gibson for no reason. He's fine, you know what I mean? And there is that capability of getting 12 rushing touchdowns. Yes, they added a mobile quarterback, so therefore I bring in Austin Eckler, who could be the dump off guy and still has explosiveness. We're talking about the running back 1 literally 2 years ago, had a bad year. You know who else had a bad year? The entirety of the Los Angeles Chargers. Like that team that has no fan base. Yeah, they didn't have a good year. I don't think it was Eckler. Like I don't think it was Eckler, and I think everyone just assumes over the hill, 30 years old. He's not even 30 years old yet. And honestly, like sure, there's tread on the tires or whatever you want to say. Like yeah, he caught a lot of balls or whatever, but like he didn't do the grindy middle of the field. He had open field and then got tackled. It's not like the same whenever you're Zeke bouncing off 16 shoulder pads and then keep running. So like I want to say it's Eckler, and I think he might be the steal of the draft. But at the same time, I like the Brian Robinson bite too. Like if I had to pick, I think I'd go Eckler just naturally. I just think it's not done. But I like getting those super late running backs, especially in like a legit 50-50 split. We have no idea who the guy is going to be, or at least on paper, seemingly. So just love that. And I don't know who the right pick is, but my pick, I guess, is Eckler.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth on these guys. I'm kind of leaning Eckler now too, and it's important to point out with this one that I mean, Josh, you were a lot of this process, but we have them both ranked significantly higher than they're going in ADP right now. So I would lean Eckler. I think he's really good, but I think there's value, especially in this kind of they always say the dead zone of running backs. This is kind of the cliff where you fall into the abyss of hell of running backs. So.
This is your last chance. It was the same thing with Fournette. I think it was 2021 season, the Fournette Rojo. And I think Fournette won people's leagues because either they didn't have enough running backs and that vaulted them there, or they ended up dealing with an injury and they kept Fournette on their bench the whole time and that hit. Like, and they had a starting running back and they didn't draft one in the first round or the third round or the fourth round. Like, so I just think I love these kind of splits that it's like, let's play the game. And I think I ended up with Fournette that year. And I'm pretty sure I won a championship. So,
well, I was about to say, let's rewind the clock back to 2019. Cliff Kingsbury, who is the leader of this offense now, drafted a quarterback who was a mobile quarterback, Kyler Murray, to come in there. He had Kenyon Drake, David Johnson, and Chase Edmonds. Now, Kenyon Drake got hurt midway through the season, but it looked as if it was a Kenyon Drake world. So he did lean on one guy right off the bat. He had 123 attempts in 8 games. David Johnson had 94, Chase Edmonds had 60, and Kyler Murray had 93 by himself. All of them spread out all sorts of touchdowns. Like they all got – Kenyon Drake had the most, but the rest of them got it too. So this could be a complete committee. Like honestly, it could be a complete committee. I think both of these guys – well, I don't know. Kenyon Drake was still pretty good back then. David Johnson was a little over the hill. But, like, I think that, you could still take that this could be a good offense with both guys working at the same time with a mobile quarterback. It seemed like at least all of those guys worked pretty well together. So, I don't know. This could end up working out.
It's just one of those things.
I also think Chris Rodriguez, to your point, Billy, is a solid buy low candidate in Dynasty, because if one of these two guys gets hurt, I think he gets, a decent size of workload.
For sure. Okay, I just have one more person and then I'm good on this, and I would like to talk about Gus Edwards, maybe a smidge. I have him at 96. Josh has him at 116. Joe has him at 130. Joe, in your opinion, who is running the football for the Chargers?
I have no fucking idea, Billy.
Okay, because I saw Gus Edwards there, and I was like, I know you didn't put J.K. Dobbins higher, so who do you think is running the ball for the Chargers?
I have no idea. You can make the case, and I've been trying to figure it out. Is it Gus? Is it J.K.? Jarrett Patterson was just highlighted as leading the Rock when J.K. got injured in camp, and then you got Kamani Vidal there. I still like Vidal just because he's going much later, and in my opinion, has the most upside out of these guys. But to be honest with you, I am probably not drafting the Los Angeles Chargers backfield. I have ended up with J.K. Dobbins a few times, and I feel okay with that because I think he's the most talented of this bunch if he is healthy.
I have to disagree. I'm drafting these guys again, man. This is the 4th, 5th running back I'm putting on my roster, depending on what the bench size looks like. Like this is the end of the draft. J.K. Dobbins is still sitting there. Gus Edwards is still sitting there. I have J.K. Dobbins over Gus. I don't know who it is either. It's the same concept. Like I said this earlier, I want all the pieces of the Chargers on all my different teams. And then one of them's going to hit and I can drop the rest. You know what I mean? Like I don't worry about it, but like I'll figure out something in free agency, but I don't know who it is either, Bill. I mean, you say it's Gus. Joe kind of says it's Vidal. I say it's JK. Should we all just do a fireball bet and whoever wins like a little like a cheersy celebrity?
I'll take you up on that.
I think we're all going to be losers, but at the same time, yeah, we can cheers to it.
Who's the best though? We don't know, and it's like none of them that are the guy. We all just
out of left field. Kareem Hunt comes in and steals it.
Oh, they trade for something.
No, I think with these guys, I mean, Chase Brown's going behind him. Nick Chubb, depending on your league, people might grab him earlier behind him. Elliott's going around this. I love Zeke Elliott. I think there's a lot of value here. So, like I said, I got JK. I've drafted Gus. I've drafted Vidal. I've drafted all these guys, but it's not pretty, and it's usually the guy who I can get the latest.
I will say two guys that I just want to, since we're just on the running back tangent here, two late stashes. Jerome Ford, who had a solid end of the season when Chubb went down, is going just completely free right now. And I don't know if it's because they don't know what's going to happen with Chubb. And I'm sure his stock will probably vault up once we get more news on what's happening with Chubb or not starting the season. But at the moment, he's going like the 9th, 10th round, right, where we're talking about. That's absolutely free. There's a lot of like free running backs. And then there's another one, Jonathan Brooks, the rookie coming in, would have been probably a first-round running back had he not had the ACL injury in his college career. Obviously, we have no idea how his treatment's progressing. They say he's out there on the sidelines practicing, but not in contact. And I think that's also a steal because this is literally the next Saquon, Zeke, Bijan type running back. And like, yes, he's on the Panthers, and yes, it could be really ugly. But once again, when you're getting him in the 10th or 11th round, we're not really worried about what looks pretty to start with. So, or
week 4. In your dynasty leagues, week 4 in your redraft leagues, whatever it is, just throw out a trade for Jonathan Brooks and see what you can do. But
yeah,
now Jerome Ford, I will have on 0 of my teams.
Really?
I can't do it with Jerome Ford. I don't think he's that good.
Even if you know he's starting for 4 weeks.
Yeah, I would rather put my money on Jet Ski Hines to lead this backfield. Jerome Ford is ass, dude.
Gotcha. Man, Jet Ski. Okay, well, that's all the players I have. If anybody wants to bring something up here at the last second, I don't know if you have a lingering thought. We didn't mention Devin Singletary, which I think we were all pretty level-headed on.
It's fine. We don't need to.
Yeah, no, I just think we were all pretty level-headed on that one too. But, okay. Well, that is the Royal Rankings Rumble. Only really one, actual fight in there, I feel like. The rest of it's pretty...
Man, this got heated. Are we still cool, Bill? The people the people that listen to this podcast thinks we hate each other, which is the funniest thing.
I know it is funny, but this is guys. This is what we're playing the podcast. Like we got to do this. I don't want to take you behind the curtain, but
this is why we started the podcast.
If we don't have any emotion behind what we're talking about, it's just going to be boring. Oh yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, that's great too. Kind of like our sleepers.
I hate some of our podcasts when we do those
with each other all the time.
That's a great point, Bill. I'm like.
I know. Like these are better because there's actual contention and we're actually trying to convince each other of a different side. Whereas the sleepers, we're just kind of like, here's some information. Hey, that was cool information. I'll move on with my information. That's not as fun as these where we actually get to be a little bit combative. So
we're just giving the listeners a peek behind because we used to have these arguments at a bar table and annoy the shit out of the bartender and everyone else in the bar. And then we were like, we should do this on the internet. And
we should do this on the internet for everyone to see.
Pretty much. Less beers, but yeah, same concept. Yeah, that's pretty true. All right. Well, we will be at the Fantasy Football Expo in 9 to 10 days, depending on when you're listening to this podcast. If you're going to the expo, come say hi. We will have Possum shirts, probably have IDP Plus shirts too. Let's be honest. Probably have a little bit of both. But if you come see us,
brands.
Yeah, exactly. We have 2 different brands, 2 different shirts. Got to support both. But if you want to come say hi to us, please come say hi to us. We do appreciate any, listen. I actually met a guy last year coming out of the bathroom that happened to listen to our pod right before going to the expo, which was kind of crazy. I didn't expect to actually see that. What, Josh? We didn't meet in the stall. It was in the doorway of the bathroom. You're looking at me like I was, we like high-fived on the way out of the stall.
No, high-five while you were
door to the restroom. Yeah, exactly. We did a simultaneous high five as we were both at the urinals. But yeah, so that was pretty cool to see. It was awesome. It was good to meet somebody who listened and liked our show. So that was pretty cool. All right. Next week, I think we're doing a pod. Not really sure what it's about yet, but tune in next week and we'll tell you. So, Joe, get us out of here.
Good night. Enjoy football.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.